Ethan adjusted the straps of his exploration pack as he stepped onto the smooth, glowing surface of the alien city. The air smelled faintly of metal and strange flowers, a scent unlike anything he had ever experienced. Towering structures spiraled into the sky, their surfaces shimmering with colors that shifted in the light. He had seen pictures of this world, but standing here in person made it feel almost unreal. He was part of a small human delegation sent to meet the ruler of this distant planet. The alien empire was vast, its people known for their discipline, intelligence, and pride. Their queen had ruled for decades, and stories of her courage and wisdom were spoken in every corner of her realm. Ethan had trained for situations like this, but nothing could have prepared him for the weight of standing before someone who held an entire civilization in her hands. The delegation entered the main hall of the palace. The walls were smooth and curved, glowing faintly with embedded lights. The floor was polished to perfection, reflecting the alien symbols etched above in the ceiling. Alien guards in gleaming armor lined the sides of the hall, their faces hidden behind smooth metallic masks. Their posture was rigid, alert, and unyielding. Every step Ethan took echoed slightly in the vast space. At the far end of the hall, seated on a raised platform, was the queen. Her presence was immediate and commanding. She wore a robe of deep blue that seemed to shift and ripple like liquid, decorated with glowing patterns that marked her status. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, with deep amber irises that seemed to see through the very soul of anyone who met her gaze. Ethan's team of diplomats bowed, their movements precise but slightly hesitant. The queen's voice, calm but firm, filled the hall. "Welcome, humans. You come far to stand before me." Her tone held curiosity but no warmth. She had met many beings, but humans were rare visitors here. As the ceremony continued, Ethan took a careful step forward. He had been trained not only in diplomacy, but also in observation. He scanned the room, noting the guards' positions and the expressions of the alien advisors. Yet something unexpected happened. The queen froze. Her amber eyes widened slightly and she inhaled sharply. Every word she had spoken earlier caught in her throat. She stared at Ethan, and for a moment the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Ethan froze as well, unsure if he had done something wrong. He had no idea why the queen's reaction was so intense. Then he noticed it, a subtle shift in her posture, the way her head tilted as if she were trying to place a memory that was suddenly resurfacing. "My name is Ethan," he said carefully, his voice steady. The queen's expression changed, not with anger, but with recognition. Her gaze softened just slightly, though her body remained regal and composed. She looked around the room and then back at him. "Ethan, you," she whispered almost to herself. A ripple of whispers moved through the alien court. The queen had never shown such a reaction in public before. The guards exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what to do. The advisors leaned forward, trying to catch every word. Ethan blinked. "Your Majesty, do you know me?" he asked, his curiosity rising, mixed with a hint of unease. The queen closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if she were searching her memory. Then she opened them again, her gaze locking onto him. "Years ago, you saved my life. Do you remember the battle at Carrion Ridge?" Her voice was quiet but filled with intensity. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Carrion Ridge! He had not thought of that day in years. It had been chaos, smoke, fire, the sound of alien creatures roaring in the distance. He remembered the injured woman he had carried across the battlefield, protecting her from enemies even as his own strength failed him. He had never known her identity. He only knew she had been a soldier, and saving her had been instinct. I remember carrying someone," Ethan said slowly. "I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was your queen." The queen nodded, and for the first time a faint shadow of emotion crossed her face. "I thought I would die that day," she said, her voice steady but soft. "But a human appeared out of nowhere. You shielded me, carried me to safety, and risked your own life without thought for reward or recognition." Ethan looked down, feeling a mix of pride and discomfort. I was only doing what anyone should have done. I didn't expect to be remembered." "Remembered?" The queen's voice rose slightly, filled with astonishment. "I have never forgotten. Every day after that battle I thought of the human who saved me. I believed you had perished, and now you stand before me," the court murmured in awe. Humans were rare visitors, but to think one had earned the queen's memory and respect was unprecedented. The advisors exchanged glances, some skeptical, others in awe of Ethan's courage. The queen raised her hand, silencing the whispers. "Ethan," she said, her voice commanding, "step forward. I wish to speak with you privately." Ethan's heart raced. Being summoned by the queen herself was an honor beyond anything he had imagined. Yet it was also terrifying. He nodded and followed the guards through a side corridor that led to a smaller chamber. The walls here were less imposing, lined with smooth, glowing panels. The air felt warmer, almost familiar, though he could not place why. The queen sat at a small table in the center. She gestured for him to sit. Ethan obeyed, careful not to appear too casual. He studied her closely. Her eyes, still deep amber, held a mixture of curiosity, gratitude, and something else he could not identify. "I have waited years for this moment," the queen said. "I never believed a human would survive the battle. When I awoke, I thought I had died. And yet, here you are," Ethan swallowed. "I survived, barely. I never knew it was you. I didn't know you were a queen. I only saw someone in need. Someone who needed to live." The queen leaned forward slightly. "And because of that, I am alive. Because of that, I rule today. Do you understand what you have done, Ethan? Your actions changed the fate of my people, of my empire." Ethan shook his head, feeling both humbled and overwhelmed. I did what I thought was right. I didn't know it would have such consequences." She smiled faintly, the first time he had seen any hint of softness on her face. "Many believe humans are simple, reckless, or weak, but you have shown courage, honor, and selflessness. Traits we have long admired but rarely seen in one of your kind. You remind me why humans are exceptional." Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and disbelief. He had never imagined that one act of survival, one decision to help, could echo across worlds and years. Yet here he was, standing in a palace on a distant planet, recognized by a queen as the man who had once saved her life. The queen paused, studying him closely. "You have no idea how rare this is. I cannot allow this moment to pass without acknowledgement. You will remain under my protection while you are here. My court, my people, must understand that the human who saved me is not to be underestimated." Ethan nodded, though the weight of her words settled heavily on his shoulders. He had never sought fame, reward, or recognition. All he had wanted was to help someone in need. Yet now that simple act had drawn him into the politics, history, and attention of an entire alien civilization. As he rose to leave the chamber, the queen's voice stopped him. "Ethan, remember, what you did was not forgotten. And now, as you stand before me again, your presence reminds me that courage and honor are universal, not limited to one species or one world." Ethan looked back at her, the gravity of her words sinking in. He realized that he was not just a visitor or a diplomat here. He was someone who had, unknowingly, shaped the future of this empire. And the queen, who once lay wounded and helpless, now saw him as more than a stranger. She saw him as a protector, a human who had risked everything for life itself. Outside the chamber, the hall buzzed with whispered speculation. Guards and advisors tried to process what had just occurred. A human had survived a battle where so many had perished, and now, that same human had earned the personal recognition of their queen, the ruler of millions. Ethan walked slowly back to the main hall, feeling the weight of every gaze on him. He was still just a human, but for the first time he understood the power of his actions. One choice, one moment of courage, had bridged the gap between worlds, earned the respect of a queen, and reminded an empire of the strength found in humanity. And somewhere deep in the palace, the queen watched him with eyes that remembered smoke, blood, and bravery. She would not forget him again. The chamber was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the palace lights. Ethan stood near the window looking out at the alien city. Towers glowed in the distance, reflecting colors he had never seen on Earth. Yet despite the beauty, his thoughts remained on the queen. Her recognition of him, the moment when she froze, still echoed in his mind. He had saved someone that day, yes, but he had never imagined it would matter so much. The queen remained seated at the table, her posture calm yet commanding. Her amber eyes, however, betrayed a flicker of emotion, gratitude, relief, and something that bordered on astonishment. For years she had believed herself alone in that fateful moment on Carrion Ridge. And now, standing here before her was the human who had risked his life for hers. "I want you to understand," she began, her voice firm but quiet, "why this recognition matters. You saved me at a time when no one else could. I was gravely wounded, surrounded by enemies. My soldiers had fallen and the battle seemed lost. I thought I would die there. Ethan swallowed. He remembered the chaos vividly, the roar of creatures, the smell of smoke, and the shouts of wounded soldiers. But he had been young, inexperienced, and terrified, yet compelled to act. He had carried her across the battlefield, dodging attacks, unsure if either of them would survive. I remember, he said softly. I saw you. I didn't know who you were. I did what I had to do. I didn't think it would matter beyond that night. The Queen's gaze softened. It mattered more than you know. That night changed everything. If not for your courage, I would not be here. I would not be ruling my people, and you were forgotten. At least by the records. No one knew what had happened to you, and I assumed you had perished. Ethan shook his head. I survived, barely. I returned home, but I was never recognized. It was just another battle to the military. But I never regretted helping you. I never thought I would see you again. The Queen leaned forward, placing her hands on the table. Humans are remarkable, she said. You risked everything for someone who, to you, was a stranger. That is the essence of courage, of honor, and that is what made me remember you all these years. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. It was rare for anyone to speak of human bravery without doubt, especially an alien who had witnessed the breadth of her empire and the strength of her people. Yet here she was, acknowledging that humans could be exceptional, not just in strength but in heart. The Queen rose from her chair and began to walk slowly toward him. Her robe shimmered in the soft light, every movement precise and elegant. I want to know everything you remember about that night, she said. The details, everything. It is time the truth is known, not just for my memory but for those who follow. Ethan nodded. He began to recount the battle, the ambush that had torn through the ranks, the chaos of fire and smoke, the enemies that had appeared from the shadows. He spoke of carrying her to a safe zone, of covering her from attacks while wounded himself. His voice trembled at times, recalling the fear and determination that had driven him. The Queen listened intently, not interrupting, though her eyes never left his face. She had seen the battle unfold in her own memory, but hearing it from him, the human, brought new perspective. She had always believed in strength, strategy, and loyalty among her own people, but this was something different. You were brave, she said finally, her voice softer than before. Not just in saving me, but in every decision you made that night. Your courage did not falter, even when faced with death. And because of you, I lived. Because of you, my empire endured. Ethan shook his head. I was just one soldier. Others were fighting too. I didn't do it alone. The Queen's gaze was unwavering. Many fought, yes, but it was your actions that tipped the balance. You chose to act when others could not. You acted when the outcome seemed hopeless. That is why you are remembered. That is why I recognize you now. Outside the chamber, whispers began to spread through the palace. Guards and advisors had noticed the private meeting, and rumors traveled quickly. A human being remembered by the Queen herself was unheard of. Some questioned the human's loyalty, while others wondered if this man's courage reflected the potential of humanity as a species. Within the chamber, the Queen continued. There are those who will question your presence, Ethan. My advisors, my generals. They may not understand the bond formed that night nor the gratitude I owe you, but you must know nothing they say can erase what you did. Your actions are etched in memory, not just mine, but in the history of my people. Ethan nodded slowly. I appreciate that. I never expected recognition, and certainly not from a queen. I only did what I thought was right. The Queen paused, considering him carefully. That is exactly why your courage matters. Not for fame or reward, but because you acted with honor. Many forget that true strength is not measured by power alone, but by the choices one makes in critical moments. She motioned for him to sit once more. I must tell you something else. My court, my people, they are not all wise or understanding. Some may see your presence as a threat. They may question your loyalty. But I will not allow them to dishonor your actions. You will remain under my protection for as long as you are here. That is my decree. Ethan felt a mixture of relief and unease. The Queen's protection was powerful, yet it also meant that he was now a part of something far larger than himself. He had come to this planet as a diplomat, as a visitor, but now he was woven into the story of an empire, a story that would shape not only this world but his own life forever. I understand, Your Majesty, he said carefully. I will respect your guidance and the rules of your court. I only hope I can continue to act in ways that honor the memory of that night. The Queen's eyes glimmered with a faint smile. You already have, and that is why I wish to keep you close, at least for now. There are matters within my court, threats and schemes that even I must guard against. Your presence, your courage, may become essential in ways you do not yet realize. Ethan felt the weight of her words settle on him. He had never imagined that a single act of bravery could lead to such responsibility, yet he understood now that courage was not only measured in moments of battle, but in the consequences that followed. The Queen walked to the window beside him, gazing at the city below. My empire is vast, and my people look to me for guidance, for safety, for inspiration. And yet in all my years I have never forgotten a single act of selflessness. You reminded me of what it means to truly protect, to truly care. That is something even a queen must remember. Ethan looked out at the city as well. The buildings shimmered like jewels, but now they seemed less imposing. He realized that despite the grandeur of this world, the true strength of its people and its leader lay not in the structures or weapons, but in the choices that defined their lives. The Queen turned to him again. I want you to stay here at least for a time. Not as a guest, not as a diplomat, but as someone whose courage is recognized and valued. There are forces within my court who do not understand, who may seek to undermine you or me. But you are not just a human. You are a reminder of what bravery looks like. Ethan nodded, feeling both honored and apprehensive. I will do my best, Your Majesty. I will not disappoint you. The Queen's gaze softened further. I do not expect perfection. Only honesty, courage, and integrity. That is enough. That is what saved me once. That is what may save us again, if the need arises. As the afternoon light shifted across the chamber, Ethan felt a strange calm settle over him. He was far from home, on a world unlike any he had known, yet he felt a connection, an unspoken bond that bridged species, worlds, and years of history. The human who had acted without thought for reward now stood recognized not for power, but for courage, and that recognition carried more weight than any medal, any honor, any title he could imagine. The Queen's voice broke the silence once more. Tomorrow you will meet my advisors and generals. They must understand who you are and why you are here. It will not be easy. Some may resist, but know this, you are not alone. I remember, and that memory cannot be erased. Ethan nodded silently, the magnitude of her words sinking in. He had survived a battle once, unsure of the future. Now he faced a court, an empire, and a queen who had never forgotten. And in that moment he understood that courage, honor, and selflessness were never truly forgotten. They shaped worlds, bridged differences, and connected lives across time and space. The morning sun filtered through the palace's towering windows, casting long shadows across the alien halls. Ethan walked beside the Queen, his steps careful, aware of the eyes that followed him. Though he was no stranger to scrutiny, the attention here felt heavier, more intense. Every whisper, every glance reminded him that he was no longer just a human visitor. He was now the one who had saved the Queen, and that fact carried power and danger. The Queen's palace was alive with activity. Advisors hurried through corridors, guards exchanged whispered reports, and emissaries from distant regions moved about with careful precision. Yet beneath the orderly surface, Ethan sensed unease. There was tension in the air, a subtle ripple that indicated not all were pleased with his presence. My advisors may not welcome you, the Queen said quietly, her amber eyes fixed on him. Some of them will see a human recognized by their Queen as a threat. Others may question your loyalty. But you must not fear. I have placed my trust in you, and that trust is not easily broken. Ethan nodded. I understand, Your Majesty. I did what I did years ago without expectation. I will do my best now, too. They entered a large chamber where the Queen's council convened. A semicircle of alien figures waited, robes and armor denoting rank and responsibility. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to suspicion, but most showed controlled restraint. For a moment, silence filled the room. The Queen stood at the center, gesturing for Ethan to step forward. These are my advisors and generals, she said. And this is Ethan, the human who once saved my life. He stands before you not as a stranger, but as someone who has earned recognition through courage and honor. A ripple of murmurs passed through the room. Some advisors leaned toward one another, whispering quietly. Others stared openly at Ethan, their eyes sharp, searching for flaws. for any sign that the Queen's choice might be a mistake. One of the senior generals, a tall figure with silver-tinted armor, finally spoke. "Your Majesty, with respect, why should this human, an outsider, be afforded your trust and protection? Our empire has survived without reliance on humans." "Why now?" The Queen's gaze was steady. "Because he acted when others could not. Because he demonstrated courage, honor, and selflessness in a moment of danger. His actions saved my life and indirectly preserved this empire. That is why he is recognized, and that is why he will remain under my protection." The general's expression hardened. "With all due respect, a human cannot understand our ways, our traditions. Allowing him access to the court risks instability." Ethan felt the tension rise, but he remained calm. "I understand your concern," he said, his voice measured. "I do not wish to disrupt your court or your people. I only hope to show that humans can act with loyalty and honor, just as your queen has acknowledged." Another advisor, a woman with sharp, angular features, interjected. "Recognition is one thing, but influence is another. How can we be certain that his presence will not lead to further disruption? What guarantees do we have?" The Queen's eyes flashed with quiet authority. "The guarantee is trust, integrity, and courage. This human acted without thought for reward. That is a guarantee far stronger than any contract or oath. He will not betray us, nor will he harm this empire." The chamber fell silent again. Ethan could feel the weight of scrutiny, each gaze assessing him, each mind questioning his presence. Yet he also felt the subtle shift in the Queen's posture, a quiet but firm declaration that he was not to be dismissed. She stood as a protector, a leader whose authority carried absolute weight. Hours passed as the council debated. Ethan remained calm, observing the discussions, listening to concerns, and responding politely when addressed. He spoke of courage, of honor, of the choices that defined individuals more than titles or ranks. Slowly, some of the tension began to ease, though not entirely. By midday, the Queen dismissed the council for a short break. She motioned for Ethan to follow her to a private corridor, away from the judging eyes. "You handled that well," she said, her voice softer now. "Many humans would have faltered under such scrutiny, but you remained composed." "That is rare," Ethan smiled faintly. "I had no choice but to remain calm, Your Majesty. I would not want to dishonor your trust or the memory of that night," she nodded. "There are others who will test you, however. Those who see humans as weak, unworthy, or dangerous. But remember this: courage and honor are universal, not limited by species nor by time. What you demonstrated once is the same quality that will earn you respect here." Ethan felt a strange sense of purpose settle over him. He had survived Carrion Ridge, returned to Earth, and lived a quiet life. Now, on this alien world, he realized that the simple act of saving a life could ripple outward, affecting people, empires, and destinies. He was no longer just a human visitor. He was a symbol of courage, a reminder that actions mattered more than appearances or expectations. As they walked back toward the main hall, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The Queen's face darkened slightly as she read the message. "They are planning something," she said quietly. "There are those within my court who will not accept a human being honored. Some have already begun to conspire against us, seeking to undermine your presence and my authority. We must be cautious." Ethan's brow furrowed. "What can we do? How do we stop them?" The Queen's gaze was sharp. "We act with vigilance, strategy, and courage. Your presence, your actions, and your calm under scrutiny will be crucial. There are forces at work that cannot be ignored, and they may act when we least expect it." Ethan nodded. "Then I will stand ready, Your Majesty. I do not wish to fail, either for you or for the Empire." The Queen placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. "I know you will not. That is why you remain under my protection, and that is why I trust you. You are not just a human to me, Ethan. You are a reminder of the strength and courage that can exist anywhere in anyone." The day progressed with heightened awareness. Every movement in the palace felt sharper, every glance more significant. Ethan attended further meetings with advisors and generals, answering questions, explaining his presence, and demonstrating his calm resolve. Slowly, some of the skeptics began to soften, realizing that this human was not a threat but a person of honor, courage, and integrity. Yet, despite progress, the tension lingered. Whispers and subtle glances reminded Ethan that not everyone accepted him. Some saw his presence as a weakness, a potential point of manipulation. Others were simply wary of the unknown, cautious of the human who had once saved their queen. By evening, the Queen summoned Ethan once more to her private chambers. She had removed her ceremonial robes, now dressed in simpler attire, though her presence remained commanding. "They will test you," she said, speaking quietly. "Some will attempt to discredit you, to challenge your loyalty, but remember what I have told you. Courage and honor are the strongest shields you possess. Your past actions prove your character, and that is more powerful than any doubt they may sow." Ethan felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. He had faced danger before. In battlefields filled with fire and smoke, he had faced uncertainty and fear. Yet now he realized that courage was not only about physical survival, it was about standing firm, even when the eyes of many were upon him, questioning, doubting, and judging. "I understand. Your Majesty," he said, "I will stand firm. I will not allow doubt or fear to dictate my actions." The Queen's amber eyes softened. "Good, that is all I ask. We must face what comes together, and we will. You have proven your courage once, Ethan. Now it is time to prove it again, not with weapons, but with integrity, strength, and steadfastness." As night fell over the alien city, the palace lights shimmered like stars reflected on water. Ethan stood beside the Queen, looking out at the vast world before him. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known. He was no longer a soldier of Earth alone. He was a part of something greater, a symbol of courage that could bridge worlds. And somewhere in the shadows of the court, eyes watched. Some with curiosity, some with suspicion, some with envy. The tension within the palace was far from over. But Ethan knew one thing. Courage, honor, and integrity were powerful allies. And with the Queen's trust, he was ready to face whatever challenge came next. The palace had settled into a quiet rhythm as the day began. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, painting the walls with soft golden light. Yet beneath this calm, tension thrummed through the halls. Ethan could feel it, the subtle movements of guards, the whispered conversations of advisors, and the occasional glances that lingered too long. Not everyone in the Queen's court welcomed him, and he knew it. The Queen led him through the corridors to a chamber where the Empire's strategic plans were discussed. Her presence was commanding, her amber eyes sharp and unwavering. "We must prepare for those who will test us," she said quietly. "Not all threats come from outside the palace. Some are closer, hidden in plain sight." Ethan nodded. "I am ready, Your Majesty. I will do what I can." The Queen paused, turning to face him fully. "What you will do is simple in principle, but not easy in practice. You must remain observant, alert, and calm. Your courage will be tested, not with weapons alone, but with decisions, timing, and trust. Many will try to unsettle you. Some will attempt to provoke reactions. Stand firm." Ethan swallowed. "I understand." As they entered the council chamber, the Queen's advisors and generals were already assembled. Their faces were calm, but Ethan could sense the undercurrents of suspicion. Every movement, every gesture was scrutinized. The Queen's presence alone commanded respect, but her choice to recognize a human as someone of importance had already unsettled many. "Today, we have received reports of unusual activity," the Queen announced, her voice strong and precise. "Some factions within the court are plotting to challenge the authority of this palace. I will not allow their schemes to succeed." A general, his silver-tinted armor gleaming in the sunlight, shifted uneasily. "Your Majesty, are you suggesting that conspiracies exist within the palace itself?" The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes. There are those who do not understand the bond formed years ago, nor the trust I place in Ethan. Some seek to undermine both. We must act swiftly, decisively, and without error." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Internal threats were far more dangerous than those outside the palace walls. He had faced enemies in battle, but intrigue and betrayal required a different kind of vigilance. Yet he also felt determination. Courage had carried him through the chaos of Carrion Ridge, and now it would carry him here. As the council debated strategy, a sudden alarm rang through the palace. Red lights flashed along the walls and guards rushed toward the main gates. Ethan instinctively moved beside the Queen, scanning for danger. "What is happening?" he asked. The Queen's expression was controlled but serious. "Assassins. They are trying to strike during the banquet. Their target is not just you, Ethan, but anyone who stands with truth and loyalty in this court." Ethan's mind raced. He had faced life-or-death situations before, but never like this. Inside the very heart of a civilization, surrounded by people whose loyalties were uncertain. Yet he knew fear would not serve him. Courage and calm would. The queen moved swiftly, her guards forming a protective circle around them. "Ethan, stay close," she instructed. "Trust your instincts and act when necessary. You have faced danger before. Remember who you are and why you are here." The doors burst open and a group of masked figures stormed in. Their movements were coordinated, precise, and deadly. Guards drew their weapons immediately, clashing with the intruders in a flurry of motion. The queen's voice rang out commanding and authoritative. "Defend the palace. Protect the human." Ethan's training took over. Though unarmed, he moved with quick precision, dodging attacks and helping to redirect threats away from the queen. He guided guards toward strategic positions, signaling them when paths were blocked or when attackers attempted to flank their formation. Amid the chaos, one of the masked figures lunged toward the queen. Ethan reacted without hesitation, placing himself between her and the attacker. The figure stumbled, but Ethan used his momentum to push them back, giving the queen a chance to regain her stance. "Ethan," the queen shouted, her voice both urgent and steady. "Stay with me." They moved together through the hall, guards following closely. Ethan realized that their coordinated movements were critical. He had no weapon, yet his actions made a difference. He protected paths, blocked access, and ensured the queen remained shielded. The attackers were skilled, but they had underestimated the combination of the queen's command and human ingenuity. After several tense minutes, the intruders were subdued. Guards secured the chamber, binding the masked figures and checking for any remaining threats. Ethan leaned against a wall, catching his breath. The queen approached, her robe slightly torn but her presence still commanding. "You acted bravely," she said, her amber eyes meeting his, "not just in battle but in thought, decision, and timing. You are steady, even when danger surrounds you. That is why I trust you." Ethan shook his head. "I only did what I had to. I could not let anything happen to you." "I could not fail," the queen's gaze softened. "You have never failed, Ethan. Not on Carrion Ridge, not here. Your courage and presence remind my people and me that strength is not measured by size, weapon, or status alone. True strength is in action, honor, and loyalty." Word of the attempted attack spread quickly through the palace. Some advisors whispered about Ethan's bravery, others about the audacity of the queen to protect a human so openly. Yet the story of his courage could not be ignored. The queen had seen his bravery firsthand, and her recognition carried weight that silenced doubt, at least temporarily. That evening, as the palace settled, the queen summoned Ethan once more to a private chamber. The adrenaline of the attack had left both of them exhausted, yet their conversation carried gravity and significance. "You see now," the queen said, "why your presence matters. Some will challenge you, question you, even try to harm you, but your courage, your calm, and your actions speak louder than words. You have proven that humans are not merely observers or outsiders. You are participants capable of bravery that echoes across worlds." Ethan felt a deep respect for her, not just as a ruler, but as someone who understood courage, loyalty, and integrity. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will continue to act with honor and courage no matter what comes next." The queen nodded. "Good. We will face future threats together. And remember, Ethan, you are not alone. The bond we share, formed in the fires of survival, cannot be broken by whispers, doubt, or treachery. It is stronger than all of them." Ethan looked at her, feeling the weight of her trust and expectation. He realized that his actions now mattered not only for the present, but for the future of this empire, for the queen, and for himself. He had survived once when courage guided him. Now he would survive again, standing not as a lone soldier, but as a human recognized for bravery, integrity, and unwavering honor. Outside, the palace lights shimmered against the night sky. The city glowed with life, a reminder that even in the midst of danger, beauty and hope endured. Ethan knew the coming days would test him further, that whispers and schemes were far from over. Yet he also knew that with the queen's trust and his own courage, they could face anything together. And somewhere deep within the palace, the queen watched him with quiet admiration, her thoughts recalling that night on Carrion Ridge. The human who had once risked everything for her life now stood ready to face the challenges of an empire, and she would not let him face them alone. The morning sun broke through the alien city's skyline, casting golden rays across the palace towers. The events of the previous night still lingered in the air, the attempted attack, the chaos, and the courage that had prevented disaster. Ethan walked beside the Queen through the grand halls, the atmosphere charged with tension and expectation. Today the court would see more than words. They would witness unity and courage in action. The Queen paused at the entrance to the main audience chamber. Her amber eyes met Ethan's, calm yet determined. Today will test them just as it has tested you. But it will also show them that courage, honor, and loyalty are not limited by species. You have proven this already, but now it must be clear to everyone here. Ethan nodded. I understand, Your Majesty. I am ready. The chamber was filled with advisors, generals, and key figures from across the empire. Whispers rippled through the room as the attendants noted Ethan's presence. Some still doubted him. Others watched curiously, while a few openly expressed skepticism. The Queen raised her hand and silence fell immediately. We have faced betrayal, schemes, and attacks, the Queen began, her voice ringing with authority. Some of you have questioned the presence of a human in this court. Today you will see why courage and honor cannot be measured by origin or species. She gestured for Ethan to step forward. The room's attention turned to him. For a moment he felt the weight of hundreds of eyes upon him, each gaze filled with scrutiny, doubt, and anticipation. He took a deep breath, recalling the battle on Carrion Ridge, the attempted attack, and the lessons of courage he had learned along the way. Many of you have wondered why I trust him. The Queen continued, why I recognize a human above all others. The answer is simple. He saved my life when no one else could. He acted with courage, honor, and integrity. His choices that night ensured not only my survival, but the stability of this empire. A general stepped forward, his expression stern. Your Majesty, while we respect your decision, the Council must understand that one human's actions, though brave, cannot set precedent for others. How can we be certain that humans, as a species, are capable of such loyalty and strength? Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but steady. I cannot speak for all humans, but I can speak for myself. Courage, honor, and loyalty are not unique to one species. They exist wherever beings choose to act rightly, even when fear or danger is present. I risked my life to save someone in need, not for reward, not for recognition, but because it was right. And in doing so, I proved that actions, not appearances, define true courage. A ripple passed through the chamber. Some advisors whispered to one another, clearly impressed by his calm words and clear reasoning. Others frowned, still holding on to doubt. The Queen observed silently, knowing that the impact of his words would reach further than she could with decrees alone. The attempted attack last night proved the stakes are real, the Queen said, her voice unwavering. Those who sought to destabilize my court underestimated the courage that stands here. Ethan's actions saved lives. His calm thinking guided our forces and ensured our survival. That is why he is recognized, and why his presence here is not a threat, but a reminder of what true courage looks like. Another advisor, a woman with angular features, spoke up hesitantly. We have seen his actions, and his words carry truth, yet some may still doubt. What guarantees exist that future events will not test his loyalty or skill? Ethan met her gaze steadily. Trust is built through action, not promise. I cannot guarantee every outcome, but I can act with courage and integrity in every moment. The choices I make will reflect my honor. That is the only guarantee I can offer. The room fell silent. Slowly, heads began to nod. Whispers changed tone from suspicion to recognition. The courage of one human, acknowledged by the Queen herself, was reshaping perception. The skepticism that had once filled the chamber was giving way to respect. The Queen smiled faintly. You see, courage is universal. Integrity is universal. Honor is universal. These are not qualities bound by species. They are the foundations of trust, survival, and unity. Ethan has proven this, and now so must we all embrace it. The general who had spoken earlier stepped back, his expression thoughtful. It appears that courage is indeed not limited by origin. If one human can act so decisively, then perhaps our understanding of strength must expand. A murmur of agreement spread through the room. Even the most skeptical advisors could not deny the truth in the Queen's words and Ethan's actions. The attempted attack had been a test, and it had revealed not only bravery but the power of recognition and trust across worlds. The Queen turned to Ethan, her eyes softening. You have done more than survive. You have inspired, taught and reminded my people of what it means to act rightly. For that you have my gratitude and my respect, as well as the respect of all who witnessed your courage." Ethan felt a wave of relief and honor. He had never sought recognition. Yet standing here, he understood the importance of courage acknowledged. It was more than a personal matter. It was a bridge between worlds, a reminder that humans could inspire hope and trust even in the most alien of places. Outside the chamber, news of the Queen's proclamation and Ethan's courage spread quickly. Guards and citizens alike spoke of the human who had saved a queen, who had faced danger with calm and precision, and who had reminded everyone of the power of honor. In the weeks that followed, attitudes toward humans shifted subtly but significantly. Diplomats, scholars, and soldiers all began to consider humans not as mere visitors, but as beings capable of bravery and wisdom on par with any empire. Ethan spent the days that followed assisting the Queen with matters of state, using his experience and insight to advise on strategy, diplomacy, and leadership. He remained humble, always crediting the Queen and her people, yet his influence grew. Where skepticism had once existed, trust began to bloom. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of purple and gold, Ethan and the Queen walked along a terrace overlooking the city. The air was warm, the breeze gentle, and the lights of the alien metropolis twinkled like stars reflected in water. "You have done more than I could have hoped," the Queen said quietly. "You have not only preserved my life but strengthened this court, reshaped perceptions, and reminded us all that courage and honor know no bounds. You are more than a human to me, Ethan. You are a symbol of hope and strength." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling a sense of peace he had not known for years. "I never imagined that helping you would lead to all of this. I only did what seemed right at the time. It is incredible to see how one action can grow beyond imagination." The Queen's eyes shimmered. "It is the nature of courage. It spreads, influences, and inspires. And you, Ethan, have reminded everyone here of that truth. For that, I am forever grateful." They stood together in silence, watching the city below. The palace, the court, and the empire itself had faced challenges, doubts, and threats. Yet through courage, integrity, and the recognition of true bravery, unity had been strengthened. Ethan's presence had become a living testament to the power of human courage, a reminder that even a single life, guided by honor, could shape history. As night fully embraced the city, the Queen turned to Ethan with a small approving smile. "Rest now, for tomorrow is another day. But remember this, Ethan, the memory of what you did, the courage you showed, and the honor you carry will endure. You are part of this empire now in ways that will be remembered for generations." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight and warmth of her words. He had journeyed from the chaos of a battlefield to the heart of an alien empire, from uncertainty to recognition, from fear to honor. And as he looked out at the city lights, he realized that courage, once remembered and acknowledged, could inspire not only individuals but entire worlds. In the days, months, and years that followed, stories of the human who saved a queen, who stood calm amid danger, and who reminded an empire of the meaning of honor, spread far and wide. Ethan's legacy became a bridge between species, a testament to the strength of courage, and a symbol that humanity could rise to meet any challenge. And in the heart of the empire, the Queen often recalled that fateful night, when a human risked everything to save her life. She never forgot his courage, his honor, or the reminder that sometimes the smallest actions driven by true intent could change the course of history. For Ethan, it was never about glory or recognition. It was about doing what was right. And in doing so, he had left a mark on a world far beyond his own, a mark that would endure for generations, proving that human courage could indeed inspire the universe.